Welcome, everyone. We are live. Welcome to episode 2 of Inside CKP. And don't be scared. I know you only see me right now, but that's on purpose. Our guest is waiting in the wings, ready to come on. First things first, I want to let everybody know that if you are watching on Facebook, it might be less likely that we can see your comments. So if you want to scoot on over to the YouTube link that I put in the comments of some of the Facebook posts, that you probably be more likely to get your questions or comments on. And with that being said, I'm gonna flog myself a little bit for last week. I looked back at the video and realized that my lighting was a bit crap, and I've fixed it up a little bit, although I feel like we can do a little bit better. Secondly, the link that I'm gonna start advertising the show a little bit differently, to where I'm just sending out YouTube links and not the link onto Facebook, to eliminate any confusion as to whether we can see your comments or questions or anything during the show. And then last but not least, I said the wrong, for our guest this week, I used the wrong first name. I'm not going to say the name that I used because I'm afraid I'm going to keep on saying it wrong. So with that, let's go live with Mr. Mike Wyant Jr. I had to say it slow, make sure I didn't mess it up. Hello, welcome to the family. Mike is a new addition to the CKP family. And a little birdie told me that you just released your first novel.
Yes, Friday.
Wow!
Yeah,
congratulations!
6 days ago. Thanks. I'm still coming down.
Yeah. So tell us a little bit about it. What title, where it can be found.
I believe it's just on Amazon.
Okay.
Paperback and EPUB. It's about a woman trying to survive on a planet that's trying to kill us all. For when the last ticket's off the planet, she gives daily control of herself over to an AI. But a chance encounter ends up changing all that, and eventually it leads her deep into a conspiracy that leaves her in charge of humanity's fate.
Oh, very good. So before we go too far, tell people where they can find you and communicate with you and learn everything about you.
I tried to keep it as simple as possible. So it's my name, Mike Wyant Jr. or Jr. Just use the Jr. So if you use that, cram it into one, MikeWyantJr.com, Mike Wyant Jr. on Twitter, Facebook, Patreon, Instagram, which I don't really do much on Instagram, so it's probably a waste of time. Everywhere. Just Mike Wyant Jr. That should do it.
Okay. And let's not forget, support the authors that bring you great entertainment. Mike does have a Patreon account, so if you like his books, go there and show him some support. And
I'm actually currently releasing I have another book I wrote almost 10 years ago now. That I self-published and sold a whopping 200 copies of, and then I rewrote a few years ago, and that kind of got me back on the novel wagon. But that one I'm releasing as part of a paid Patreon gift. So,
awesome!
Yeah, each week there's a new chapter. Should be wrapped up by December.
Oh, good. All right, so real quick, we're gonna pay the bills before we go too far. Don't forget to, this show is brought to you by Chris Kennedy Publishing. Go there. You can go to there's the Chris Kennedy Publishing website. Chris Kennedy also has a Patreon account that supports Chris Kennedy and also this show. So if you like this show and you want to see more of it, and you want to see up and coming authors, artists, editors, publishers, established authors, go ahead and visit those sites and show your support. Of course, everything you can find everything on Amazon with CKP. And let's see. So Now, I read the synopsis of the book, and it by the way it reads, it kind of smells like there's going to be something coming in the future. Can we expect some things coming?
Yep. It's the first book in a 5-book series, um, and this one is set 400 years early.
Mm.
So this is kind of a standalone snapshot that sets up the rest of the series. So the next book we read, the characters in this one won't be in it, not directly, but we'll be 400 years in the future, running around in mech suits and attacking demons in space.
Ah, okay. And so I know you probably don't have a firm date on that, but when can we expect to continue seeing these books?
I believe I'm on the schedule right now for July 1st release for the next one, and
Oh wow.
August 1st release for the third one because those three were already written.
Hmm.
And the fourth one is almost done. I knocked out a couple thousand words in that today.
Oh,
So
good job.
that's right at the end. Tomorrow's going to be a blitz. We'll see what happens. But if I get that done properly, which there's no reason why I shouldn't be able to get it done, it'll be coming out in September. And then the fifth one starts.
Okay.
And my goal is to have them all out by the end of the year for everybody.
Awesome. That's awesome. That's a lot of content right out of the gate, just coming on.
Yeah.
So,
it was a lot.
yeah, well, good job, good job. So, what inspired you to write Last Bid? What?
It started with actually the second chapter in the book.
Mhm.
I wrote a short story that had no real. It was a wandering kind of thought experiment, building the setting around an older guy who's very distinctly me, if anybody knows me, but in my 60s, who's going shopping, and there's real people, but they're acting like automatons. And
Mhm.
it's because they have an artificial intelligence that takes over their life, and it's was born out of my recent experience in retail, and it being just a mind-numbing horror show that literally drove me mad. Um, and me going, well, if I could just hand over those hours to an artificial intelligence for the day and just check out in the morning, check out back in after work, that would work beautifully.
Mhm.
And so then I started looking at it from the other side, and that's kind of how this all steamrolled. Because then I got into what if you did that? What would be the drawbacks? What could happen? What would be the benefits, drawbacks? That whole thing, science fiction author's dilemma. Is this going to be a benefit or a horrible, horrible thing?
So, it seems like the book's being pretty well received so far. Congratulations.
Thanks.
Uh,
It was terrifying, so I'm glad that it's doing
I
pretty
bet.
well.
I bet it was. You put your baby out into the world. You want it to be safe, and
Hmm.
then you put it out into the wild, and people can either love it or hack it to death. But congratulations, that's
Thanks.
apparently a good book. Um, so we'll change topics. So how did you become a part of CKP? How did that come about?
That's entirely a Superstars writing seminar thing. It was the first. It's the first real writing conference I'd gone to.
Hmm.
Um, at the recommendation of the late David Farland,
Hmm.
he suggested that we go, and so I paid for it. Went there. He had passed beforehand, but I decided I was just going to go at it whole hog the same way that he would have told me to do it. Um, which was terrifying for me because until Superstars, I had never actually talked in public about my books before,
Hmm.
or talked to other writers really about my stuff, beyond like maybe a chapter here or there that I'd send out to people. So that going there, my writing group, the One Ring, actually helped me learn how to talk about my books. Which all this happened like in a weird, perfect order. So I got there and I was like, okay, tell me about your book, because we'd only ever known each other online. And then the first thing they did was make me talk about it, and I made them do the same, which was great because I got to see them squirm.
Hmm.
But so first thing, learned to talk about the book. Second thing, I went to a pitch prep with Chris Mandeville, Lisa Mangum, and oh crap, there was another guy there that was just incredibly helpful. I'm blanking on his name, and they helped me hone the pitch down. And I had signed up for pitches with Chris Kennedy and Rob Howell, and I met Rob Howell first, pitched, and he was like, "I'm not the science fiction guy, but that sounds kind of neat."
Mm-hmm.
And so you should talk to Chris about that. And then when it came to Chris's time, I first met him at dinner before I got to pitch him, which I think helped a lot.
Mm-hmm.
I was assigned to his table. We chatted for a while mostly about the cover art that CKP gets, because you guys, there's some amazing cover art that comes out of this publishing company.
I agree.
And then I told him at the end of dinner that I had a pitch with him in the morning. So I didn't want to scare him.
By the way,
yeah. By the way, and then first thing in the morning, I came in. I pitched the soft pitch thing that I had been working on since I got off the plane, and he said, "Okay, send me the pages." And that's really how it steamrolled from there. Awesome. It's gone very quickly. I'm not sure I've caught up yet.
Yeah, Chris doesn't mess around.
No,
when he
doesn't.
Likes something.
Yeah, that was in February.
Mm-hmm. I don't doubt it. Yeah. No, and not only that, one thing I've learned about Chris is that it's not just the writing, it's not just the books, it's the person also has to be a good fit, and that's why we call it the family. It's the family that you choose. It's not the one that you're born with, and so that probably had a lot to do with it too. So, and the dinner before the pitch. You're probably right. It didn't hurt.
No, I think that went a long way to showing I'm not a jerk.
Yeah. No. So when did you?
I'm not a jerk.
Yeah. Well, so far you seem like a nice guy. And to the audience, this is the first time that Mike and I have met, so we're getting to know each other as well. Also to the audience, if you have any questions, go ahead and start putting those in now, and if we haven't answered them yet. But before we go to the audience, when did you start writing?
When I was about 12. I was playing D&D with my uncle. He moved away. And so I decided that the way to get him to come back and play with us was for me to craft an entire D&D campaign in Dragonlance, with color-coded sections for public reading, for private comments, and all that. It was ridiculous. It was very well done, and I'm still proud of myself for doing that, but it was a lot. Actually, the map behind me, is the evolution of that. So when I was 12, I drew my first map as well to go along with the stories I started creating. Because Dragonlance is a little weird, and I didn't like all of it, so I said, I'm going to make my own campaign. And that started a almost 30-year obsession with creating worlds and making stories. Had a bit of a dry spell in my 20s, but then it came back.
Well, yeah, I mean, college will do that to you. Or do you still do a lot of gaming and things like that?
I do a lot more video gaming. I was getting back into DMing with a group of friends a few years ago. Then everybody started moving, and then COVID hit. And so I don't do very well DMing like this, over Zoom. It just doesn't have the same feeling for me, and it doesn't resonate the same way. I think I might be doing it this weekend, actually, though. So
okay.
Yes.
Okay.
I'm more of a computer console gamer nowadays.
Oh, okay. So what console games are you playing?
Mostly I do deep dive RPGs. So the Mass Effect trilogy I've spent far too much time in that. I put just the same amount of time that I've put into it over the past 10 years when the Legendary Edition came out. For a month, all I did was play through the games every night for 4 to 6 hours because I just love them so much. So stuff like that. The Witcher, The Witcher 2, 3. I do have a penchant for science fiction stuff nowadays more than fantasy. But otherwise, the deeper RPG it gets, the more I'm ready to play it. And then when I screw around, I play Fortnite.
Yeah. Well, it's funny you mentioned The Witcher. I'm reading those books right now.
I haven't read the books yet.
Yeah.
I feel I'm such a... Yeah.
Yeah. No, I'm reading... Well, I mean, I'm just getting to them, so... but yeah, no, they're pretty good. I guess I don't have as much of an imagination as a lot of people. I prefer to watch the movie, the TV series, whatever it is first, and then read the book if I know there's a book out, and then read the book,
Gotcha.
because now I have people's names and faces in my head. I can see them. I don't have to imagine anything. I know what they look like, and to me, it's like the DVD extras.
Yep.
Whenever
That makes sense.
when you read, because you get so much more out of the books, and because every time that I have watched a movie or a TV show after reading a book, not every time, most times after reading the book, I'm disappointed, so rather go in the opposite direction, and it's always a delight.
Gotcha.
you know
I've done that a couple times, and you're right. It's really nice because it's fleshed out more, and it's usually a more satisfying ending in
hmm
the book.
hmm
I can see that. You get really excited about the movie, drop into the book, and then the book's
hmm
like way better, and you're like,
hmm
yeah,
I mean, I did that with Harry Potter. I watched all the movies. Actually, I didn't know much about Harry Potter. I watched all the movies, and then I went back to the books. It's like, oh wow, this is awesome. It's like extra. It's just extra data,
yep.
you know.
And my wife would kill me, but I definitely like the movies way more than the books.
I
I'm
liked
surprised she
them.
didn't blow through the other side of the house. Like, what are you talking about?
Come throw you a beating. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
No. Since we're on this topic, audiobook or book.
Book, which
Okay.
is weird because I'm the editor of a storytelling podcast.
hmm
But it's just I have a hard time with audio sometimes.
hmm
I can listen to snippets, but I have to focus very hard. I can't do like a ambient audio for
Yeah.
like listening for comprehension. I have to actually be focused on it. So audiobooks don't work the same way for me as I think a lot of people they do for a lot of people. A lot of people
Yeah.
can
My
just kind of
wife
pick
can't
it up.
stand it. Yeah. My
Yeah.
wife can't stand them. She doesn't like people talking to her. Well, with me, I like doing other things. While it's hard for me to sit down and read a book most times, but if I can
Mhm.
listen to it while I'm doing other stuff, now I find myself rewinding a lot. But if I
Yep.
can do that, I feel more productive than just sitting down and reading a book. I know I'm gonna get flogged for that, but yeah,
Everybody
that's
has
kind
their
of my
thing, man. It's all right.
yeah yeah.
Well, this is a good time for me to plug something I do. Then that the Storyteller series podcast is what I was mentioning. I'm the editor
hmm
of, and we release full cast audiobooks every month.
hmm
They're usually about an hour long, so for you it might work. They're
Yeah,
they're
yeah.
different genres. They're all over the place. We do everything from memoir to deep horror. Um, and we have one author that sent a story in this submission cycle that I'm pretty sure is heavy body horror that we're probably going to pick up. So
Yeah, yeah. Where can they find that?
that is at storytellerseriesPodcast.com. Um,
Okay.
if you go there, all the episodes are listed out. We have 21 right now, 20 or
Okay.
21, and our next one launches on Friday.
Okay. Can they also get their oh, hold on, I've got backup. Joy listens while she works too. Thank you, Joy. I appreciate you. I don't always get backup on that one. I usually catch hell on that one. So can they also get there through your website? Uh,
Um, I don't know.
okay.
They probably should be able to,
Okay.
but for some reason that's never occurred to me to think about.
Okay. So
So
say the site again.
it's Storyteller Series. Here, let me. I'll drop the link in the private chat for you.
Awesome.
And did I put an extra? Yeah, that last one. There, that's better. So the first
Okay.
one brings you to the kind of the archive, and the second one I sent you will give you direct links to where to listen to podcasts, so you can just pick them up and subscribe and such.
Okay. Well, just for the people at home, here is the website that you can go to listen to those. It sounds interesting. I believe I will check it out
And
because I
just
do
a
like that stuff.
quick I have a thunderstorm going over the house, so if I
hmm
disappear, I probably won't be able to come back because that probably means I lost power.
Okay.
Just
All right,
I live in the
everybody.
middle of nowhere.
That's my goal one day, to
That's
live
nice.
in the middle of nowhere. Yeah. Right.
All right,
Right
we're doing
now,
it then.
yeah, my wife and I. are full-time RVers, and so we are
Gotcha.
at an undisclosed location in Connecticut for
Gotcha.
the summer because it's not as hot. But so yeah, that keeps me out of trouble. We do work camping and all that, and so it keeps me out of trouble. Keeps me busy. No idle hands and
Yeah.
all that jazz.
And I'm glad I gave you
Um,
22 hours of content then.
I appreciate it. So what's one of your favorite things about writing? And you can go nuts if you got a bunch, but
About writing or writing for me or writing in general?
writing in general, and then for what you've enjoyed about your journey so far writing.
Gotcha. Um, there is, I'm going to ugly paraphrase something, and I can't even give you the source because I picked it up off a meme. But there's from a movie, somebody wrote that when you read a book, sometimes you think you're alone in the world and you're just going through life, and then you pick up a book and you read a passage, and it's like somebody from the past reached out and just shook your hand.
Mm-hmm.
And so I think that's one of the coolest, best parts about writing in general. It's this idea of being able to take a moment in time, a snapshot of your mind, and just drop it on paper so that people can digest it anywhere at any time, on paper, digitally, whatever. But if there's that chance for that sort of connection across time, space, distance, then that's what kind of makes it worthwhile to me. As for personally, what is the thing I enjoy about writing? It's honestly reading it back. I realized a couple weeks ago that whenever I write anything, I go back the next day and I start reading what I wrote before, or just kind of a quick edit pass. And every time I do that, I'm always surprised what's there. And I usually forget that I'm editing because I'm like, oh, this is fun. Like, where's this going? And then I get to the end and I'm like, oh, damn it, that's right. I'm writing this book. I actually have to finish the book now. I freak out sometimes about just sitting down and writing. Like the act of, okay, I gotta get 2,000 words in today.
So getting started is the hardest thing.
Getting started, yeah. Transitioning out of like all the busy work that that might have to be done, but writing needs to happen at the same time every day because the repetition beats writer's block anytime. Yeah, that's. I think I wandered a little bit there.
Oh, you're fine.
Yeah.
Well, so do you ever, when you're reading your own stuff, do you ever go? It's like, man, that's a good line. That's pretty good. Who came up with that?
I actually, I got stuck writing the ending of the fourth book. I know the ending; it's all plotted out. Everything that's there has to happen. And then I just kind of burnt out. You know how you're writing a book and sometimes your brain just kind of fries on you, and it's like, well, of course I know how it's going to go, but every word is going to be a struggle. So I went back and started rereading all the other books in the series because there's 3 other books, and so I started keeping notes. Whenever a cool line comes, I'd be like, I don't remember writing that. I'm going to scribble that down here. And I think I ended up with like 38, 40 different lines that now I can like self-reference them later on in the series. But yeah, absolutely. Almost every time I sit down and reread the stuff, it's like, wow, I said something enlightening. That's great.
So that's pretty good.
Yeah, that's pretty cool. I don't know where it came from or who said it really, but sweet.
Yeah. So what are your favorite things to write or write about, or genre or topic?
My main topic that I like focusing on is people. And a lot of times it's people with some sort of mental illness or some sort of mental thing they're going through, some sort of deep struggle they're going through. And that's usually the main focus of my stories is I start with a character in a setting. And then everything else kind of comes from there. Whenever I'm discovering writing, it's I have a person, I have a place, and then it goes from there. Because I think the best stories are always about character. You can have some people are going to just drive by and hit me with a truck when I say that, but when the characters stand out, they can carry any setting, they can carry any milieu. They can do pretty much anything if you have the right characters in the right setting. It's like when, this is a bad example, when Ryan Reynolds became Deadpool. You can have him do anything now, and everybody's going to watch it because it's perfect. You got the right character in the right place at the right time.
Yeah. No, I mean, I love those movies, but yeah. But to your point, I do. I find that kind of stuff fascinating. Where when somebody has a, not necessarily a mental illness, but it's although I do enjoy those too. It's when you're trying to figure out, why would this person do this? Why, what is their motivation? This is nuts. Why would anybody do this? And I love that kind of stuff because I'll do that in real life. When I see people doing wacky stuff or
It's
stupid
like,
stuff,
why on earth would that guy drive a golf cart into a motorhome?
yeah.
It doesn't make any sense.
Well, most like these days it's content, but they're
Yeah.
but yeah, no, that kind of stuff fascinates me. So I get what you're saying there. So what is in addition to character development and things like that, what genre is your favorite? I mean, I know this is dystopian. This is dystopian, but is that your favorite, or do you do other things?
I feel like the past 20 years or so, stuff has just gotten really weird, and it's kind of skewed me towards dystopian. Because I didn't used to do that. I used to be very heavy high fantasy, high magic fantasy stuff. But lately, I think I skew towards dystopian, science fiction, that sort of genre, because when I do that, I'm almost always trying to add a hopeful element to it. I want to have, this can be horrible, but at the end there's going to be a positive thing that comes out of this, all this carnage, all this horror, because it makes me feel better about the way everything's going. The world itself can be an absolute dumpster fire, but humanity has that one thing that we're always hopeful, even in the face of certain doom, to be a little bit cliche there.
Things could be worse.
Yeah, things can always be worse.
Yeah. So you talked about high fantasy. Do you ever see yourself dipping your toes back into that arena?
I do. I have 3 trunk novels that I need to tear apart and put together. The last one that I got real close with before I started working for full-time on the Unisian Convergence was ended up 120,000 words, and I went, okay, I need to put a second point of view in this, because I started off as first person throughout the whole thing, trying to make it a YA, and I realized I can't do YA. I curse too much. So I'm trying really hard not to just like talk normally.
Oh no, go nuts. We're all adults here. Go crazy.
But that one's gonna balloon and double the size, and now I have a co-author on that, Mike Costello. He's kind of the lore master for the universe, and he just keeps working on it while I'm taking this hiatus on Unisian Convergence stuff. So once I get the 5th book done, I'm taking a month or 2 off, and then I gotta sit down and start working on it. He's gonna kneecap me.
Okay, man. Before. Oh wait, we got a nice. Adults only by age. I agree. I don't
Very
adult
true.
very well. Yeah. Speaking of the audience members, if you've got any questions that we haven't tackled so far, feel free to type them in. But we're gonna keep on going while we're waiting on that. What is your writing routine, or do you have a writing routine?
I do. I sleep. I'm a night owl, so half of the people are gonna look at me like, "How do you do that?" But I wake up about 9:30 every day, and by 11 or 11:30, I'm at my desk, and for a few hours, I do business of writing stuff. So social media posts, working on storyteller series, all of that sort of stuff that isn't writing but is kind of related.
Mm-hmm.
Stuff like this, if I was on your side, I would do during this time period.
Mm-hmm.
and then lock down between about 1 and 3 or longer if necessary. That's writing time, and that's usually when I pop out the bulk of my work, is between that 2-hour block. But it's Monday through Friday. This is probably also going to get me kicked, but it's only Monday through Friday.
Mm-hmm.
I actually take weekends off, mostly because my 20s were focused very hard on professional development and moving up ladders and doing things, and I hardcore burnt out, like really, really badly. So I had to figure out a way to find a balance so I don't accidentally do that again, because I'm very prone to it.
Well, I think it's important that you say that because you just I mean I'm not a writer, but just in my professional life, it's kind of why I'm doing what I'm doing is because I didn't like most of the jobs I had, and I would get burnt out on them, and finding that balance is very important, especially when you work for yourself.
Yes.
And so if you don't make yourself do it, if you're just constantly working, you can lose your motivation for what you're doing. And
And then you're just working to work
yeah,
because it has
exactly.
to be done.
Yeah, and at that point it's not fun anymore, and
Yeah.
you got so I think that's a very important message, is like you got to have fun, you got to have a life, because your life can inspire your art, and
Yeah.
go out in the world, go out in the nature, have yourself a good time, have a good vacation, take a vacation,
Yeah.
get out in the world, and
Americans, take a vacation.
exactly. Now let's take vacations, but and that can not only rejuvenate you but give you ideas and things
Yeah.
like that, and help stave off the burnout.
Yeah. Yeah, you need to refill the well sometimes.
Hmm.
And if you do it regularly and you have it as part of your routine, then you get longer gaps between those droughts. That's why I had to write, not just publish.
Hmm.
That's right, Chris. I haven't even looked at the comments field yet.
Oh no,
Um,
I'll pop them up from time to time.
Alrighty.
Uh, but yeah, and like I said, my hope is to never go back to an office environment if I can help it.
Yeah.
Which is why I do this. It's why I live. I'm traveling full time. Work camping and stuff. I'd rather have a variety of experience than sit in a cubicle all day long in the same place with people I most likely don't like, or wouldn't
Yeah.
invite home for dinner. And just twiddle my life away. And for a lot of people that's not an option. They have to work, they have to
Yeah.
do a job they don't like. And so for the few of us that are able to do our own thing, we got to do it for them. We just like get out there and live our lives.
Yeah. Yeah. Not everybody gets the chance to just randomly drop and go. It's
Hmm.
not just a thing that pops up.
Hmm.
I got very lucky that I was able to. My wife and I were able to kind of pick up and come out to the middle of nowhere.
Hmm.
Um, it it's not something that just happens to most people. It certainly doesn't happen in my family. Um,
Hmm.
and so
Mine either.
having the option to do it, and then just saying screw it, okay, we're selling the house, we're leaving,
Hmm.
was a big challenge, but ultimately it was the right decision.
Hmm.
And I think a lot of folks can't make those decisions. They have kids, they have certain things that they have, the family that they can't leave, and yeah, I'm gonna take that and live with move on with the idea that we're doing it for everybody else,
Exactly.
living these lives, making what we can to try to make the world a little bit better because we're able to refill our well regularly.
Hmm. All right, so we got a question from the audience, if I can pull it up. Who are a few of your favorite authors and why?
Hi, Liz. That's my friend Liz. She's in my writing group.
Oh, okay.
Uh, a few of my favorite authors. Well, one that I know that she'll approve of is Chuck Wendig.
Hmm.
He writes primarily in third person present tense, which is kind of weird. Most people don't do that. But it's so visceral and intense that it gets to you, and that's really kind of what inspired me to start writing a lot again, was
Hmm.
reading some of his books.
Okay.
because that intensity of it, it's like most of his stuff is thriller, but I realize it doesn't. Not every story that has that intensity has to be a thriller. It can just be sci-fi. It can be dystopian. It can be fantasy, and you can still bring that tension to a story. And I picked that up mostly from him. I said David Farland at the beginning of this because of his Rune Lord series. Those books kept me sane during my stint in retail. And then his classes and everything afterwards, just they kept me going once I started writing again. Terry Brooks was like the guy I went to anytime I needed anything growing up. And every now and then I still find myself thinking back to primarily Magic Kingdom for Sale, that the Landover universe. That one really hits me, that merger of fantasy and real life and realism. I think it's kind of what inspired me to start doing weird stuff like what I do in the next book, which is a bit of feels science fantasy-ish, but if for hardcore science fiction folks, I promise I'll explain it later. C.S. Friedman. She writes I forget what the name of the series is. Crap. It's a science fiction series that is fantasy. So the backstory is science fiction. We leave the Earth, and there's a colony ship that's sent out across the galaxy to find another habitable planet. But in this world, there are no other habitable planets. There's nothing. And so they get to nothing that passes all the tests, so that it'll actually automatically eject all the colonists and everything, until they find one that barely meets the requirements and technically doesn't count at the very edge of the galaxy. And that one has a life force. The planet itself has a life force, which actually has magic to it and speeds up evolution amongst native creatures and that sort of stuff based on need. And that same sort of thing, that mixing of genres, and realizing once I read her the first series, that one, that's when I started thinking, well, maybe I can mix genres, like hardcore mix genres. Take a sci-fi, turn it into fantasy, see what happens. Coldfire, yes, the Coldfire series.
Thanks, Chris. So I want to go back to your routine for writing. Are there any particular things that you use to plan out your writing, to organize your thoughts, your chapters, things like that?
I usually start with Dan Wells put out a specific 7-point plot structure, primarily for D&D, I guess. But I found that it worked really well for me because it breaks it out kind of into 7 different parts, and it's given a kind of a story percentage through the story metric as it goes down the list. And the first time I saw that was the first time I was able to actually plot out a story. Prior to that, I was 100% a pantser. All I do is pants, which is probably why my first book was a little bit wonky and all over the place.
What's the name of it again?
Dan Wells' 7-point plot structure.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. And then from there, usually I get the basic bullet points of what's going to happen at these big points. And then as I'm writing through series, if I get like, oh, I know how to expand this out, I'll just jump over to the outline document and then just start writing almost like mini synopses for not necessarily chapters. I still like to pants my way through a bunch of stuff, but the big points, the big emotional beats, make sure those are documented and written down so I don't forget what I started at the beginning of the story. That's pretty much what I use. I don't use Scrivener, which is also going to get me crucified by a few of my friends, I think.
Not in this group.
All right, cool. I don't know if I've ever admitted to my writing group that I have never used Scrivener. I tried once, and I was like, this is too much. I don't need this. I'm a hardcore Microsoft Word guy. So just Word docs and writing.
No, we were talking about Scrivener last week, and Chris hates Scrivener, especially when he receives stories from people who use Scrivener and all that. So you're in good company. Yeah.
The first time I tried to export a story and all the formatting just disappeared, I went, okay, I'm not doing this. This is going to cause me nightmares.
Let's see. What is Chris saying? On May 13th, CKP will release Kevin Eikenberry's The Mercenary Guide to Story Structure. Oh,
I
interesting.
believe that was a class of superstars. And another person in my writing group, Rebecca um, Treasure, she took the class and she's been using it really, really well. I just haven't gotten around to being like, hey, can you like tell me exactly everything he said, please? But I'm down for trying that one now when it comes out. I guess I gotta write that down.
Yeah. All right, Chris. Thanks for the heads up.
Sorry.
Oh, no problem. So, um, current favorite books. We already talked about that. Um, let's see. What things are you into outside of writing?
My main things lately have been gaming, which is kind
Hmm.
of my steadfast brain dump at the end of the night. But otherwise, we actually own a chunk of property, 137 acres, and so we have been waiting for everything to get warm enough that we can start going back out again.
Hmm.
We set up a camp. There's thunderstorms today, otherwise I would have been out there before this.
Hmm.
But we're gonna go to my wife and I had an anniversary this weekend, and we were going to go to a hotel at a casino and like hang out. And then we realized if we spent that money on a tent, we'd have an actual like outdoor getaway all
Hmm.
summer. So there's a tent out there, and lately that's what I've been doing. Going out there, it's got a front room because it's an expensive tent,
Uh-huh.
and just sit out there and read, which I haven't been able to do in a few years, mostly because I've been so focused on writing and then working with storyteller series that I haven't really done pleasure reading in a long time. Thank you, Marissa.
So, um, what was life before CKP? What go tell as much as you want to tell, or as little as you want to tell.
Well, for a while, I was a sysadmin and a network admin. I
Hmm.
worked on high-speed data backends for a nonprofit out in California. So
Hmm.
back before 10 gigabit was a thing people knew about, I was building those networks out and working with internet speeds about a gig in 2007.
Hmm.
Um, Back then, I felt like a networking god because I got to use all this really cool high tech equipment. Nowadays, it's like, oh, okay, well, the Verizon FiOS router I have supports gigabit uplink, and I'm like, all right, well, giant waste of time. Um, After that, I came back and I worked at Apple Retail as a lead genius, which I had to put lead genius on my taxes for the 3 years I was there. It was kind of embarrassing because no one ever believed me.
Hmm.
Um, and then I did some stuff that I'm still under NDA about out there that I can't talk about.
Hmm.
And shortly after that, I had a mental breakdown
Hmm.
um, and was diagnosed bipolar, which kind of changed everything in my life. I couldn't quite work the same way I had before, kind of like what we were talking about earlier.
Hmm.
So we started up a tech company, which was way better. I'm not sure why I thought that was a great idea. Did that for a few years, then we popped out here, and since we've come to live out in the middle of nowhere, I just focus on writing primarily. And like I said, not everybody can do what we do, and we were able to purchase this place, and it has 3 houses, and 2 of them are rentals. So
Awesome.
it allows us to actually survive, be comfortable, and have a nice little place where all I really have to do is random house repairs and plumbing.
That sounded painful. That last one.
Sometimes, yeah.
Yeah. We got a question from the crowd. Um, if my mouse will work, there we go. What are you reading right now?
Right now, I am about to read a bunch of slush for Storyteller series because we just closed our submissions.
Hmm.
Uh, this weekend, though, I knocked out Ready Player 2. I enjoyed the
Oh,
first book, but I liked the movie better.
hmm.
Oh, what was that?
How I haven't read it. I want to read it, but I haven't read
It
it yet.
wasn't my favorite, but I liked the ending. I thought that it's set up to be a perfectly predictable ending, and then it wasn't. Not quite. So I think I overdid the nostalgia with the first one, so the second one went deeper and pulled in some '90s stuff, and I was like, okay, I think I'm nostalgia out. Um,
Hmm.
and I reread all my stuff, but that's more work related than. I think the next book I'm jumping into is Andy Weir's Project Hail Mary, though. That's on the shelf. My wife read it, and she's been like staring at me like, "Can we talk about it yet? Can we talk about it yet?" So I have to get that done soon.
Here's another one. They want to hear more about the camp. Is it Woodsy Lakes? I camp in a moving house. Oh, this is my wife. Sorry, I didn't see who this was.
It is next to a very shallow lake.
Mhm.
Like it's about 2 feet deep, and it used to be a swamp. It's just the water levels have risen, so it's a very pretty view. Kind of wondering if I should like send you photos afterwards. Um, it's entirely in it's new growth forest, but it's kind of getting towards that middle age sort of thing. It's been about 100 years since anybody's plowed it or cut there,
Mhm.
and we just had some work done back there to clear out some paths for us to get out to the woods. But it's very kind of raw. You get out there and we have to have music playing because we know that there is a bear someplace out there.
Oh,
He stays away from everybody, but there's all sorts of animals. We got roving coy dog and coyote packs. So
oh, you
it's
are out in the middle of nowhere.
yeah, it's absolutely gorgeous and stunning and beautiful. But it's wild enough. You have to be a little bit prepped.
Mhm. What state are you in?
New York.
Oh,
I'm in that weird place that no one really ever thinks of. So you got New York, and then you got Long Island, and everybody thinks Long Island's like New York, the entire thing. And I live up here in the middle of nothing.
cool. Um, do you do any woodworking working with the random house repairs?
I
Do
do not very well, but I'm starting to kind of teach myself and pick stuff up from my father-in-law.
Mhm.
Um, the best project I've done would be the kitchen table that I epoxied. We cut a couple sliders into our house, which is a
Mhm.
converted pole barn, and we found a bunch of rough cut. God, I was blanking on the phrasing. A bunch of rough cut wood underneath as we were cutting it out. So I took those, cut them down, turned them into a 6.5 foot table because that's all that was usable, standard enough to get me a full size. I think it's a 40-inch wide table, about 6.5 feet long, and it came out gorgeous. It looks amazing, except for the epoxy drips that I didn't know how to handle because it was my first time using epoxy.
Yeah, I've done the same thing. You get under there with a sander, knock them off, and put some more epoxy on it.
All my sanders burnt out on me. I was about to do that a few months ago. I was like, it's freezing and I'm bored. I'm gonna go do something. And I got the sander out, got inside, connected it, and the motor just like lit on fire in my hands.
Oh no!
Yeah, and so I went and I got my other little one. I was like, all right, this one will work. And I connected it and I touched it, and that one just vibrated, and that was it.
Oh no!
I think someone broke that one on me and just didn't tell me though. I don't think that one was
So
caused by the table.
do you have any future projects that you're excited about? Not a have to do, but want to do.
Yeah, I picked up a portable sawmill recently. It's I didn't think it through entirely, so I didn't get the guide rails, which is hung me up. But since we had some trees taken down, I had some lumber kicking around, and so I have a couple pieces that were going to be really nice, like side tables, but without the side rails. And then I got very busy because all of the stuff that's going on.
Yeah.
That one I want to get back to. I want to make some furniture out of raw lumber.
Cool.
But I think I need to get another belt sander. Otherwise, it's going to come out looking very strange.
Yeah, because I'm a well. So there's novice, and then I'm right below that.
I'm
In
probably
woodwork.
between you and novice. I won't cut off my hand.
Yeah.
I know
Yeah,
when
I
to
got the
stop.
same stuff down. Yeah. I'm not gonna lop anything off, but yeah. So, this is a long one. Hold on. I had it. There we go. Have you lived in New York your whole life, or have you lived elsewhere as well? New York State is beautiful?
I grew up in a place called Phoenix, New York.
Hmm.
It's no one knows where it is, so it's north of Syracuse. Um, and then when I went to college in New York, close to Pennsylvania, and Alfred University. And once I left there, and I got a job in California. We spent a few years out there. That's where I did most of my high tech work. And then we came back here, moved back to Phoenix. That was a mistake. And then, sorry, Phoenix. I went there and immediately got into the local politics, and that was a really bad idea in 2016.
Oh,
Um,
wow. Oh,
yeah,
wow.
so
Yeah.
yeah, so that I left, and that's how I got here. So I've been around a little bit,
Hmm.
but most of it has been in New York. Most of it rural New York.
Okay. Um, so I'm going back to previous question. So you told us about some of the books that you're into. Is there
Mhm.
any other form of entertainment that you would, whether it be TV, podcast, movies, whatever it is that you're really into that you would recommend to people?
The League of Legends Arcane Netflix series is a masterclass in storytelling intention. If people haven't watched that yet, they need to go watch it like now. And get it's animated. The animation's a little weird, but if you choke through the animation, if it doesn't feel right to you,
Mhm.
like for the first 10 minutes of it, the payoff is so intense and so satisfying. Yeah, also very crippling. Um, that anytime anybody's asked me about TV shows lately, that's the one that pops into my head immediately.
Mhm.
Um, the other stuff I'm watching right now is just all garbage for the most part.
Are you hate watching some stuff right now?
I'm when I get tired, I watch Stupid Silly. So I
Hmm.
recently rewatched all of the Robot Chicken seasons, every last one of them,
Yeah, yeah.
um, just so that they're there. And as long as I'm kind of giggling, I kind of start to wind down at the end of the night. Right now, I'm watching Hoops. If that gives you any sort of indication of where my humor lies, there's a whole lot of fucks involved in most of my humor.
All of the fucks. All right.
Yep.
Let's see. What cons will we see you at?
If nothing bad happens, I'll be at Worldcon in Chicago.
Mhm.
Um, and from there, I haven't figured it out yet. I'm kind of trying to take one thing at a time, and right now the big thing is finishing the book series.
Mhm.
But Worldcon Chicago, I will definitely be at Superstars next year, next February, and I'm still trying to figure out which ones make sense for me to go to,
Mhm.
because I am East Coast. It seems like all the cons went west
Mhm.
in the past 15 years or so. So every con that I think about going requires a hotel room and a flight.
Mhm.
And while I'm not super poor or anything like that, that's a lot of money that I don't necessarily have yet.
Yeah.
As soon as that
Um,
stuff's being an issue, then I will go to significantly more cons.
yeah. Well, we've got Libertycon coming up this month down in Tennessee. That's a great one. I love that convention.
Yeah, I keep seeing it
Um,
pop up
yeah.
on everybody's
Uh,
feeds.
so next year, if you're gonna go to one, um, that's a good one because you actually can spend time with authors and things like that. It's not like which I like Dragon Con, but it's so big and people are doing so much that it's hard to actually have a conversation with somebody.
Got it, kind of like
When
PAX.
oh yeah, it's
Yeah.
it's huge. Dragon Con's so big. Have you ever been?
No, it's been on my. If I have a bucket list, it's been on it since I was 11. So,
Yeah, it's
yeah,
so big, and being an introvert, it can be a lot for me. So I'll sit in the corner and just people watch the whole time,
yeah,
and do all that because the costumes, some of the costumes are great and everything. It's great. It's great for that. But I really like LibertyCon because that's where I got to know all of the CKP family. I had
gotcha.
met them before. I had, hey, how you doing? My name's Jeremy. I belong to Marisa.
Hmm.
That kind of thing. But it was there that I really got to know people, and then, and of course, Fantasize kind of like that too. It's a smaller con,
Gotcha.
um, things like that. But just a shameless plug there.
Yeah.
Um,
Oh, I thought of another show I'm watching right now.
okay.
The Obi-Wan Kenobi
Oh
show.
yes,
It's I'm a big Star Wars fan,
yes.
and it's scratching a whole lot of itches right now.
We marathoned the first couple episodes yesterday, and we got one on tap for today too. But yeah, I'm with you. I'm excited about that too.
Yeah,
Uh,
I'm really excited about what they're starting to do with the Inquisitors because at the
hmm
beginning they're very much those single, um, narrow views, like the one dimensional characters, like
hmm
in Rebels, and I've watched all most of the animated stuff too.
Oh, me
Not
too.
all of Clone Wars. There's too much, and I didn't watch it when it came out, so now it's all catch up, and I'm like intimidated by the catalog. Um,
It's
but
really good.
yeah, but every time an Inquisitor shows up, they're always that same like hate, 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 hate. And
Hmm
so seeing that in the first couple episodes, especially with Third Sister, was kind of like off-putting at first. And then I had to
hmm
remind myself, no, this is a character, and if they're going to do it right, she's going to start to expand.
hmm
And
hmm
seeing her slightly start to tweak in episode 3 was like, they're going to make the change. It's not going to be the same like thing all the way through. That made me really excited because I was a little worried, just a little.
Yeah, yeah. Well, I'm always worried with some of these shows that are coming out on Disney and all that, because they're pumping out so many of them. It's like, is this going to be good, or is it going to suck out loud?
Yeah.
And most of them, not all, I've been pretty on board with.
I've been pretty happy with all of the series as a whole. There are certain episodes that I
Hmm
disliked,
hmm
but there hasn't been a single like a series where I've gone, okay, well, this entire thing, I don't think I'd ever watch that again, or
Yeah.
I don't think it contributed in a good way.
hmm
Um, all the new, I'm also not I'm not a huge fan of the old Legends stuff.
hmm
Um, I really enjoyed the Jedi Academy stuff,
hmm
but that was about it. um, and then I got deep into the Old Republic for a while, um, way too deep. I was
Oh
playing the
yeah.
video game, the MMO, Star Trek: The Old Republic, and I put in 1 year I spent it. I did. They have a calculation for how much time you play, and I put a solid month of my life into that game. We didn't even come to FactoryCon.
Factory Con is the convention that Chris puts on in October,
Oh, I will
and
try.
that's
I have to try
that's
to
a
do
good
that.
time. I highly recommend it. It's a good time.
Where is that one?
That is down in the Inner Banks in North Carolina,
I'll write that one
Point
down.
Jack specifically.
The other ones were kind of on my list, but this one was not. I don't know how.
Yeah.
I will
But
try.
no, it's a good time because a lot of people are in RVs, and I bring my RV down there, and other people are in cabins and all that. And that way, if you have too much fun, you can just crawl on back to your
Crawl your
house.
way back.
Yeah, yeah. No harm, no foul. Just don't fall in a fire.
Yeah.
But yeah, no, it's a blast. So I do recommend that you go. It's a good time. Um, so let's see. Oh, I'm gonna take this time to promote a few of the other YouTube channels that are affiliated with us. Of course, this YouTube channel is supported by Chris Kennedy Publishing. I also recommend Dudes in Hyperspace, which is another um, Chris Kennedy affiliated YouTube channel. Uh, and then we also have Casey Ezel that has her Writer's Life uh, YouTube channel. And of course, my wife also has a fledgling YouTube channel that we're currently building up. So go check them out, like, subscribe here, support people who bring you entertainment. Um, so what's coming up for you, Mike? What's the next big thing? What are you excited about?
Personally, it's getting the rest of these books done.
Hmm
Having them all out and the possibility of a box set being like a real thing would
hmm
be awesome.
hmm
After that, I think the next project is probably going to be going back to Mayvie's, the fantasy world I mentioned earlier. The one that's. I keep pointing the wrong way. Over
hmm
there. Um, it's sit long enough, and I'm starting to get weird thoughts about it again. So I think it's gonna be ready to go once I finish this series up. That's gonna be the big one because there's no way that's just going to be 3 books or
Oh,
5
awesome.
or 6. There's too much.
Oh, wow.
There's documented history for 5 ages now. I think we have full plot rise falls of different nations and everything because Mike has been being a lore master for it for the past 20 years now,
Mhm.
and it's pretty epic. And it was I think when I was working on it last time, it was beyond my abilities, but I think I could probably pull it off now.
Oh, cool. Chris chimed in, letting us know when FactoryCon is this year.
Oh, cool.
Let's go ahead and write that one down. So we're coming towards the end here. Let's see. Don't forget. Oh, hold on. Butterfingers here. Don't forget to go to Chris Kennedy Publishing for everything Chris Kennedy, sci-fi, military sci-fi. Of course, Mike's new book and his future books can be found there. Support Chris Kennedy Publishing and this show by going to Patreon. You can find everything Chris Kennedy Publishing here. And of course, let's not forget our guest. You can find everything about Mike at MikeWyantJr.com. You can find him on Twitter. Do you do a lot on Twitter?
Twitter is the primary social media I'm on mostly.
Okay.
Anything on Facebook, I'm just throwing random stuff out. On
Okay.
Twitter, it tends to be a little bit more engaging.
Okay. So go check him out on Twitter. You can also find him on Facebook. And Mike has his own Patreon. So if you want to see more great stuff come out, go ahead and support him by hitting him up on Patreon. Let's see.
I think I only have one thing left to plug, and that's just the Storyteller Series episode that's dropping on Friday.
Awesome. Go ahead.
It's called Event 7. It's a science fiction time travel kind of... I was going to say something, and I realized it might be a spoiler, so sorry.
Oh, yeah, don't do it.
It's written by Alicia Kay. She's awesome, and
Yeah.
the story's amazing. So, yeah, give it a listen this Friday. It'll
All
be
right.
out at 3 a.m. Eastern. So,
Oh, wow. Yeah,
Yep.
go check that out at the website below. Before we head out, let's see. Next week, we have John Osborne and the man himself, Mark Wandry, the creator of the 4HU universe, will be here. Come in. There should be some shenanigans. These guys have known each other for literal decades. So come check them out. That's June 1st, same time, same channel. And come check them out.
you mean July 1st?
What did I say?
June 1st.
June 8th. June 8th.
All right.
Next week. Do not come in July expecting to see Mark and John. Please come next week. Same time, same channel. And I believe that is it for the show this week. Do you have any parting wisdom words or anything?
Sure, I'll give some wisdom.
Oh,
Wisdom
sure.
is, if you're going to write, make sure to set time aside for it and be religious with it. That'll get you through writer's block better than any sort of weird chicken sacrifice ever will.
That's a great thing to leave on. So thanks everybody for coming in for the show. I really appreciate you coming in and participating. And thank you very much, Mike. And so when that next book comes out, you're going to come back on, right?
Sure, why not?
Why not?
Yeah.
All right, good. So we'll be seeing Mike a lot more. Go ahead, like I said, go out, support him, support Chris Kennedy Publishing. And with that, I will see you next week.